Hey everyone, welcome to the Gut Girls podcast. Today we're talking about something that comes up so much with our clients, and it's detoxing. And more specifically, we're going to talk about why so many people feel worse when they try to detox instead of better. And I'm sure as you're listening, you're going to want to take notes, because if you've ever done a cleanse and you've thought, like, why do I feel exhausted, or why am I feeling worse than I did before I started? Most people are genuinely trying to do the right thing. They're trying to support their health. They're trying to reduce inflammation. They're actually trying to reset their system, right? That's what a detox is. So we applaud you for that. But what we really want to get to is why detoxes are confusing, and we want to get to the truth about them. So it's not actually the detox that's the problem. Okay, it's the approach to detoxing that is the problem. So today we're going to break down what detoxification actually means and why I'd say like the do's and don'ts, what we love and what Diana and I don't love about some of the popular cleanses out there. And we're going to dive into what your body really needs to detox safely and effectively.
Yeah, we talk to so many people. You have chiropractic patients. I see people in the public that come in to my wellness store, and we hear things all the time about people trying different things. I mean, extreme restriction. They're trying juice cleanses. They're fasting. They're cutting out different food groups, whether it's protein or cutting out carbs or whatever the case may be. And a lot of people think that the more extreme that they do, like, hey, I'm going to do this hardcore, that they're going to get the best results. And it's not always the case, because here's the problem. Your liver doesn't actually detox if it's starving, right? It actually has to have nutrients to do the job that it needs to do. And so when you don't eat enough, your body kind of goes in this like stress mode, the fight or flight. We talk about that all the time, when we talk about the nervous system and stuff. Your body goes into the stress mode. The blood sugar drops, your cortisol goes up, the detoxification pathways actually slow down, so you're not doing exactly what you've set out to do, right? And so that's when people start to feel that shaky, irritable, dizzy. I had somebody come in the other day that they had read that they should do dandelion tea, and I was like, well, tell me about it, and that was literally all they drank for 2 days. And she was like, I felt terrible. And I was like, well, no wonder. So I kind of explained some of that to her. And so she was like, I mean, I couldn't do it. And so that's when you're like, okay, this detox, this isn't working. And you listen to these signs that your body is giving, and you're like, I don't feel safe. My body does not feel safe. I feel horrible. And so what we really want to stress, again, like you said just before about detoxing, it's not necessarily that detoxing is a bad idea, but people think that they failed the detox where they don't continue doing it, like my customers that were doing the dandelion. So, but it was actually the detox failed them. It wasn't the right type of detoxification for them.
Oh, I like that you said that. The detox failed them. And so let me also say, playing off of that, what we also see, the approach that also fails people, is the reliance on like laxatives or harsh flushes. So guys, Dinah just nailed it. If a detox is promising you that like you'll be running to the bathroom all day, that's not detoxification. That's not safe at all. That will fail you. That approach will fail you. And we would call that irritation, right? So like that's not detox, that's irritation. So things like senna or stimulant laxatives, they don't help your liver actually detox. When I say it's irritation, they irritate the lining of the gut, and then they actually can make constipation worse over time, because where there's irritation to the lining, you're not absorbing nutrients, you're staying inflamed. And guys, that is the first thing that's going to lead to constipation. So you end up actually like a little worse, right, than what you started. And then we also see a lot of detox products loaded with soy. So like soy protein isolates or some highly processed filler. That's the part that can be tricky, is kind of outlining, or I should say identifying those hidden products. I remember a detox, and this was when I worked back in Texas, and I had it was a chiropractic patient at the time, and she was doing just these bars, and it was kind of comical in my mind because I'm like, you're living off of bars, like that's all you're doing. But then when she brought it in and I looked at the ingredients, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the worst. Like, so you're barely eating and you're feeding yourself all soy. Like your estrogen is going to be through the roof when this is all done. And now we're going to have to go back and do a whole nother approach, right? Like not just detox you, we're going to have to go back and fix some things. And so for some people, they can handle soy. When you hear this, don't freak out and be like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to eat soy or I can't handle it. For some people, they can. But in high loads like that, like if it's a long-term detox, those ingredients, like I said, can leave inflammation instead of reducing it. So the bottom line, okay, detox should make your body feel supported, not inflamed or depleted.
Yeah. I mean, you were just talking about like doing the bars. You know, if you go back and listen to my story, I can't remember how deep into it I went into like episode 2 and 3 when we kind of talked about my story. But, you know, throughout the years, I've shared a lot about all the different things that I've tried, lots of different diets. I've heard of lots of different diets and people, you know, trying these different things and different cleanses and detoxes. And, you know, I shared that I used laxatives before. I mean, heck, at one point I was so constipated that I was like doing enemas every day. Like I was doing literally everything that I could come up with to just like get myself out of that chronic constipation. And, you know, when I can remember trying to fast and only like I bought a juicer. I had no idea what I was doing, but I had seen somebody doing that. And so, I mean, you can talk about depleted, man, I felt so awful. I mean, because again, I was constipated and then I was trying to just drink juice and that was it. So I was getting like basically no protein in for the day. And so it really is a matter of like, you know, figuring out what to focus on. And it's not necessarily just about like flushing our body out, right? I mean, like I said, I used to think that with the laxatives and I mean, I was eating stool softeners like people eat Tic Tacs, you know, I mean, it was not safe. And you know, even if I got some temporary relief, it wasn't long term. And honestly, a lot of times I wasn't getting temporary relief, which is why I was like continuing to do more and more, you know. And so one thing that I love about actually being a gut girl now and everything that I've learned at this point is that a little bit more about how the liver functions. And of course, I'm not an expert on this whatsoever, but there are there are 2 different types of detoxification, 2 phases of detoxification that our liver goes through. The first one, basically, it breaks our toxins down, right? And then phase 2 kind of packages those and then helps them eliminate and safely leave our body. So it's really important that both things are supported during that time. And so phase 2 of the detoxification process really needs a lot of the nutrients. Okay, so guys, we're going to go through the exact same thing we talk about all the time. Protein, amino acids, B vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. Our body has to have those to be able to get those toxins out. Otherwise, they get stuck in the middle. And then that's when those people feel so much worse and actually don't feel better after doing their detox. It's because they can't move those toxins out. And so that's why real food matters so much in having this proper detoxification process. We need those balanced meals. We have to have the adequate protein, just like I talked about when I was doing the juicing. I wasn't getting protein in. I wasn't getting enough calories in. And so my liver felt like it was not in this safe place to be able to process the food that I was eating or the food that I was drinking or not drinking or whatever during that process. And so the detoxification process was actually not even happening at all.
Yeah, you hit so many key points. So guys, remember that you actually detox every single day. So it's interesting when you were saying all that, I'm like, it's interesting that we think about, I have to go on a detox, right? Like I'm doing that in air quotes because it's like the other mindset, like Diana's talking about, is why don't you just support the natural detoxification system of your body? I mean, that's a whole different approach and it's safe. And so one of the most overlooked parts of detox is the nervous system. So guys, this is where it's like, just support your body where it's at, because if your body is in fight or flight mode, so most people want to detox, surprisingly enough, when they're in fight or flight, because you're fed up with it. You're like, I'm done feeling this way. I am so exhausted. I'm so inflamed. I can't lose weight to save my life. I want to jump into a detox and I want the quick fix. It doesn't happen like that. So you jump into it when your body is inflamed and in fight or flight, and it's not prioritizing digestion or detoxification when you're in that nervous system state. That's why you're making it feel worse. So if, let's go back to women for a second, if you are high or like estrogen dominant and you jump into a detox while you're inflamed and your liver doesn't have the right nutrients, what do you think is going to happen to all that excess estrogen? It's just going to get recycled during that detox push. And again, you're probably going to end up with more headaches than you were even complaining of the first time, and other things that, estrogen dominance shows. So when someone's under eating, so the point being, when someone's under eating, over exercising, constantly stressed, or in that inflammation or survival mode, the detox pathways slow down. That's not the time we want you to detox, okay? So typically, this is why we emphasize things like regular meals, adequate sleep, deep breathing, and reducing stress during any kind of cleanse. So you support the nervous system first. And Diana, what I think is so awesome about mentioning this is actually our entire approach to the Gut Girls. Like, beyond just detoxing, before we jump anyone into like a major transformation of gut microbiome, what do we do first? We make sure that they're not in fight or flight mode, right? So I mean, this little gem of information here is key for a lot of things, even beyond detoxing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, checking the nervous system obviously is such a huge part of it, but my mind honestly kind of went to when we see on the GI map test, a lot of times you were talking about that recycling of those estrogens. And although we don't diagnose or treat it or, anything on a stool test, we can actually see some of that sluggishness a lot, which is so interesting. And I think you do such a fantastic job working with our clients, and have really helped educate us how to do this natural detoxification, because that's what our body's doing all the time, right? I mean, it's constantly wanting to detox, or if it's not, it's sluggish, and that's where we need to actually work on it. And doing the fasting things, doing those cleanses, that's not the key. But I can tell you that our body needs that supportive and nourishment, and the sustainability. It needs all of that. It needs to feel safe. And so if you feel like that's something that you want to do, is doing a detoxification, we're kind of just giving a little bit of teaser, I guess, for the next episode, because we do want to dive into one of our favorite detoxes. And I'm not even going to tell you what it is right now, because I want you to make sure that you listen next week, when we talk about our favorite detox. And we'll explain why it's different from all the other things that we mentioned today. Again, trying all of those laxatives and, stuff like that. And then the dandelion teas, and even trying different, you can, buy liver cleanse pills and all that stuff. But it's like, sometimes our body really has to have the nourishment that it needs. And that's why we like our detox that we use, and that we're going to tell you about next week. So, in the meantime, what I would suggest to you for the next week is to go ahead and start prioritizing protein. Go ahead and really try to eliminate some of those, some of the inflammatory things. We've talked about them a lot. The sugar, the alcohol, your desserts, and really even what we talked about, like the nervous system, like almost kind of detox from stress if you can. Focus on making sure that you're not constantly in this fight or flight all the time. And so you can do some diaphragmatic breathing exercises. You can go check out our basics guide on our website, gutgirls.health, and that will kind of share with you some of those things that we would suggest for you doing in the meantime. Go ahead and eliminating those things. Consider going ahead and cutting back on your caffeine intake too, because the detox that we suggest generally will eliminate caffeine. And so it's easier if you go ahead and start weaning yourself off of that. So those are some things like in preparation for next week that I would go ahead and get started this week.
Yeah, and I'm actually just going to say one more thing. Guys, Diana is like setting you up. So if you are listening to this podcast, you're getting like huge insightful information, because if you are coming to us as a member of the Gut Girls and you're coming out of, so this podcast will probably launch like right after the new year, right, Diana? So like people are just coming out of the holiday season, right? So My goodness, you've probably, like Diana said, been undersleeping, over caffeinated, too much chocolate, too many sweets. If you think like, oh, it's January 1st and I'm jumping into a detox, Diana is just doing her best to be like, hold on, you're going to have a bad reaction to that. Let's set you up. So if you're anxious in your seats and scratching of like, what is that detox? I want to know because I want to do it today. It's like, no, no, no. We are actually setting you up to give yourself a week until we actually release to you the next episode of the detox that we do, really enjoy, and our clients get huge success with, because this is how we would walk you through it in real life. If you are our member, we would tell you like, hey, coming out of that holiday season, I don't know that I'd jump into it right now. Let's give yourself a week or two and then jump into it. You're going to see so much more success. So I love, Diana, that you are doing this for our members that are able to listen to the podcast and get some actionable steps, you know what I mean, that they can take away from this. So we cannot wait to see you, to hear you guys, to have you listen in, I should say, on the next podcast. If you are curious about doing a reset, stay tuned.
The Gut Girls podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. We are not acting as licensed medical professionals. Always consult your doctor before making any changes to your health routine.